Grab a drink and a snack. It's gonna be another long one, y'all. Ah, so many sweaters. Hi, welcome to the Apple Crafts podcast. I am your host, Alicia, and today is going to be a very long episode of all of my favorite sweaters. Not all of my sweaters, just all of my favorite sweaters. So I have a lot of sweaters. It's a really nice day out today. It's 80 degrees, which for some people is probably really hot, but for Tennessee, United States, it's a nice day. Not too hot, just right. Before I get started into my sweaters, I want to show this off. This is my finish. I think I talked about this. No, I did talk about this in the last podcast. This is the Maia tank, and I'm the only one who's ever knit it. The pattern's been out since 2008. I don't know why nobody's looking at it, probably because nobody knows who the designer is, because I think this is the only design she's got. I don't know what the reason is, but it's a great tank top. You just have to do a tiny bit of math. But let me put my tea down. So I'll show this off really quickly, and then we can get into all of the sweaters. So like I said, this is the Maia tank, and this is not 3 colors. This is all 1 color, and I've already talked about it before, but this was a one of a kind, and I spent time trying to figure out how to take the colors that were in the one of a kind and make it a consistent color for my shop. So this is all of the stuff that all the yarn that I dyed before I figured out that consistent color. So this is Forest Floor, and I knit this in a bigger size before. I'll put a picture over here what the bigger size was, and I just made it in a smaller size, so I'll just go around. So it's ribbing on the bottom, and then you've got this cable on both sides that goes up, and then you split for the sleeves, and then you start doing decreases here, and then you just pick up the cable, and then you meet it up here with the 3 needle bind off. So it's really simple. It's really easy to modify, even though it's one size, because most of your math is just figuring out your circumference. When I got to when you're working bottom up, you got to figure out where your sides are going to be. So usually it's just an even split. So whatever your stitch count is for your circumference, just going to split it in half, and that's where your side seams are, generally speaking. That's not going to be for everybody, but for most people. And then from there, I just did a couple of decreases on the sides. And then as far as figuring out the cabling in the back, I kept the stitch count. What did I do? I reduced it by like 5 stitches because I was making a smaller size for the back on both sides. So I had the same stitch count going from the side seam to where the start of the cable is. And then did the cable, and then I just kind of, I did the math for my last Maia tank, and then reduced the space back here just by a couple of stitches, like 4 stitches or something like that, just to kind of cinch it in a little bit, and that's it. Everything else was basically the same. Yeah, so that's really all you have to do to modify it for your size. Is just do a gauge swatch and figure out how many stitches per inches you're getting, measure your bust, and then go from there. I always do waist shaping because I don't like to have a boxy style, but I didn't do too much. I think I only decreased it 3 times. So I started my decrease here, and then I did it again here, and then somewhere up here, and then that was it. So that's this. I wanted to show that off because I'm wearing that today. Okay, so it's sweater time. The leaves are falling off the trees. The weather's getting cooler-ish for here. I still won't be able to wear any of these until maybe next month. But for a lot of places, fall is starting where you guys are. So, you know, why not? So, what do I want to start off with? If you're at all curious about how superwash yarn behaves, this is a great episode for you because 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of my sweaters are superwash. So I can tell you a lot about superwash garments and how they behave, how they hold up, and how they stretch. So if you need to know about that, there you go. So my first sweater is the Gardengate by Jennifer Steingass. I'm not going to put any of these on either because it's still a little hot out, but this is the Gardengate. And what I do with all of my sweaters is I have this little tag, make sure I don't get this in my tea, it just says handmade. And I just sew it in the back of my sweater so I know where the back is, because most of the time I can't tell. Sometimes I can, but most of the time I can't. So this is knit top down in the yoke construction. It's got short rows in the back of the neck. And all of this is my hand-dyed yarn. Another thing about all these, most of these sweaters, they're all my, most of it, yeah, almost all of it's my hand-dyed. No, I think all of them are my hand-dyed. Yes. Yeah. Because if we know anything about sweaters, it costs a lot of money to knit a sweater. So that's really where I showcase what my yarn looks like. So if you ever are curious about what a colorway looks like, generally in my shop, I will put a picture of something I knit. And usually it's got to be a sweater because that's where I'm personally saving the most money. Not that it's cheap, because it still comes out to about $75, $80 a sweater, but I know that's really cheap compared to a lot of prices for hand-dyed yarn where you're probably looking at $150 a sweater, maybe more. So that's why I use my own yarn for my sweaters. So this yarn, the bright pink, is my pink tourmaline, and it's my October birthstone colorway. And the black is Black Cat, which I'll be bringing back into the shop soon. It's a black tonal, which you'll see a lot more of in the next two sweaters, so you can really see what that looks like knit up. So let me move my tea because I really don't want to get yarn in my tea. Okay, so now you can see close up of that. So I have a lot of Jennifer Steingass patterns, and I've knit half of them. And I learned with my first sweater where I need to modify, because I have to modify literally every single sweater that I knit. And I would think that most people would be like that too, because our bodies are all different. And, you know, you can write a pattern, but you can't predict what hundreds of different bodies are going to be like. So I always have to modify. So I always modify the arms. And I always modify the back, because my shoulders are wide, but my back is narrow. So if I follow a pattern exactly how it's written, I have a lot of fabric and slack going on in the back, and I like a more fitted sweater. So what I do for my modifications, especially with Jennifer Steingass, because I've noticed that the yoke to the arm is never really deep enough for the sizes that I choose. So what I do, first of all, is I will add, where does this end? Okay, so the end of the yoke is right there. I will add another row or two, usually 2 rows, just to get a little bit more depth. And then, because the arms are splitting, you know, the arms go here, and so you're starting to put stitches on hold, or looking at putting stitches on hold when you get down here for your arms. I will always add, you know, at least 4 stitches on the arm, if not more. It really depends on how much space is actually there. And what I have to do for that is put the arm part on waste yarn, lay it as flat as I can, not spreading it out, and then measuring that. And then I will add usually another inch in stitches. So my stitch count is anywhere between 23 to 26 on a US 5 for fingering weight. I would say on average though, really it's probably more like 25. So I usually add another inch on the arms. That's it. Everything else will stay the same, just on the arms. Then when I pick up, or when I'm after the arms are on hold and you start working for the body, that's where I put the rest of my armhole stitches. So usually in a pattern, and not just Jennifer Steingass's patterns, it's a lot of patterns. You usually pick up like, I don't know, 9 stitches or 12 stitches or something like that for the underarm. That's what makes it really tight for me. So the rest of my math is down here on the arm when I start the body. And then when I get to the body, because obviously if you're adding stitches to the body on the pattern, the rest of your body is going to be pretty big. So what I end up doing is almost immediately after I do I don't even think it's an inch. Let me see. No, it's about an inch, inch and a half. So I'll work the body for about an inch, inch and a half, and immediately start decreasing. That way the bust isn't loose. You know, I'm still getting good fabric there, but I'm starting to cinch it in, because otherwise you're going to have, because I just need that space under my arm. I don't need it here. I just need it here. So after about an inch, I'll start decreasing on the body. Now for my back, because my back is narrow but my shoulders are wide, I keep everything in the yoke the same, and then I start decreasing on the back. And what I do to make it invisible is I'll alternate. So like when I get to like down here, like I don't know, about an inch or 2 underneath the yoke, I'll take, you know, I'll go like maybe a few inches in here on this side, a few inches in here on this side, decrease 1 stitch on both sides. Then I'll go down a few more rows, maybe 3 or 4 rows, and then decrease a stitch here and a stitch here. Then I'll go down a few more rows, do a stitch here and a stitch here. Then I'll like, generally that's where I'll stop, but sometimes if it's like a lot of fabric, then I'll do another stitch here. That way you don't have visible decreases going on in the back. It's just kind of spread out, but it's not in the same spot. I have hair in here, what the heck? That way it's not in the same spot, so it doesn't look obvious. So that is the Gardengate by Jennifer Steingass. What else do I want to say about this? Okay, so when did I finish this? I finished this, I know I wore it for Valentine's Day this year. So I finished it just after Valentine's Day last year, so I didn't get to wear it last year. So I did wear it this year, and I probably wore it 4 or 5 times for the month of February. And this is knit on polymer fingering, because almost all of my sweaters are on polymer fingering, just because I like the fabric and the feel of polymer. And there is a little bit of pilling, so I'm not gonna lie, but I haven't like had to use a gleaner yet or anything. Like, I don't even know if you'll be able to see it. There's like a little bit of pilling, and that's under the arm where you're rubbing the most all the time. So let me show you the other side, just so you have full disclosure of how my yarn behaves. Yeah, like there's a pill there. There, and that's just under the arms. One little pill here on the arm. So not bad, not bad. And you have to remember too that the tighter you knit your fabric, the less pilling you're going to get, and that's just a general rule for pretty much everything you knit. That's not going to be, well, even with rustic yarn, I have 2 sweaters that are considered rustic yarn and those have pilling too. It just depends on how much you're wearing it, how much rubbing you're doing, you know, against anything or under your arms, and how tightly you knit the fabric. That's really what it comes down to. I mean, and I would think twist too on your yarn is going to make a difference as well. All of the superwash yarns are 4-ply. All right, so let me put this down. Let me find a spot. Okay. The next sweater is Darkwater by Jennifer Steingass. This was the first one that I ever knit, and this is where I learned that I need to do the modifications on the yoke, because I didn't do that on this one. And from the time that I knit this until now, I've lost, oh boy, 35, 40 pounds. And it's still a little snug over here, which is why I add those extra rows now on the yoke. So I don't have that snugness going across my chest. So this is the same thing, US 5, fingering weight. And I did not put a thingy on the back. So this is Black Cat. So this is that black yarn I was telling you about that was in the other yarn. That was the contrast color. And you can see that it is tonal. So you've got like whites and darks of black and charcoal and dark gray. And my goal was to not have a solid black color, but to have a color of a black cat. So like, you know, black cats, they're going to have a little bit of white here and there as far as like a few hairs or, you know, whatever. I have 2 black cats, so that's what I'm basing it off of. And the contrast for this is Dead Muertos, which I don't know if you can see there's some blue pops over here. I don't think anything else is really going to pop out, but it's also shiny, so it's like Lurex, which I don't know if that will show up on the screen. Probably not. But that contrast is Merino Nylon Lurex. So I wear this one for Christmas a lot because it's shiny and it's, you know, Father Christmas colorway and all that. So same modifications for all of my fingering weights. Actually, every single sweater. Every single sweater I make, except for one that's in this pile, is going to have those modifications I just talked about. So usually when I pick a sweater, I look and see if I can even make those modifications, because if I can't, I don't bother to knit it, because I know that it's not going to fit right on me or look right on me, unless it's a particular type of oversize, which I'll show later. I do have an oversized sweater that I didn't do those modifications on, and it's an oversize, so it works out fine. So, yep, this is Darkwater. And Polworth fingering. So when did I finish this one? I finished this one in 2020? Yes. No. Yeah. Beginning of 2020? Or the end of 2019? Maybe it was, I don't know, somewhere around there. So this one, you know, has gotten worn a lot more. So I'll show the pilling on that too, so you know. Full disclosure. Again, under the arm, there's a few pills. Nothing bad. I may have used a gleaner on this maybe twice in the last 3 years. So, under the arm. But yeah, I really like this sweater. I even with the tightness here, I think it has helped that I've lost weight, so it's not as tight. But I try to wear it on days where I know I'm not going to be doing a lot of movement and stuff, just because I don't want to stretch out and possibly break a strand of yarn. Might be time to take a sip of tea. oh yeah, I probably should mention I changed my background. So I figured, I've noticed I'm picking up a lot of noise from the AC, and I'm not going to shut it off because it'll be blisteringly hot in here. So I'm hoping with the background here and the camera in a slightly different spot that maybe there won't be so much background noise. There is the computer behind the phone, so I don't know if that's going to make background noise or not. So we'll see after I edit this episode. Okay. This one I wear to death. Like, I wear it to death. This is the Garland sweater by Stephanie Lotven. And I did put my marker here. Oh, I should also mention, because all these are Superwash, we want to talk about the stretch, right? So, what I do, because these are all top down, so this is probably the easiest way to explain it. When I knit my bodies, all of my body is usually somewhere between 17 and 18 inches. So when I knit, your knitting stretches down. It doesn't usually stretch out unless you're pulling it that way when you're blocking it. It stretches down. So if I'm going for an 18-inch body, then I will knit 17 inches. Because I know when I block it, I'm going to get that extra inch. So if I'm already blocking it and compensating for that stretch I know I'm going to have, it's not going to stretch any longer by wearing it. That's been my experience. Your mileage may vary. My experience is I don't get more than an inch of stretch, so I compensate for that when I knit my body. So if I want, I'll throw out, well, I'm already using my numbers. So if I want an 18-inch body, yeah, I'm going to knit to 17 inches. So if a pattern is telling you, if you're going strictly by pattern, and a pattern is telling you to knit 18 inches for your body, and you're using superwash yarn, don't knit 18 inches to your body. Knit 17, maybe even 16 3/4, because you're gonna get that stretch. Same thing with the arm for the length. Since you're knitting this way all the way down, it doesn't stretch as much as the body does, but I still do 1/2 inch to 1 inch on the arms. I like long arms anyway, so I don't do as much of a restriction on the arms. Now for the neckline, I've only have the next sweater that I'm going to show you. I did have to fix the neckline because it was starting to go like this, and but it's also a heavier weight, so I'll get to that when I get to the next sweater. But that's all I do with my superwash. And when you're squeezing the water out of whatever vessel you are putting your water into to soak your garment, when you take it out, don't take it out like this. Because if you take it out like this and you're holding it like this, you're taking all that wet and you're just stretching the crap out of your fabric. Don't do that. That doesn't help at all. So you just want to make sure when you're squeezing it out, right, like you do, or should be doing, not wringing it, squeezing it, you take it like this and stick it on your towel to get the rest of the water out. And then you're gently grabbing the fabric before you start laying it out on the towel to dry it off. Because if you're just going to start pulling it, all you're doing is stretching out your fabric. So you want to make sure you're really gentle. I may actually have a sweater. I know I do. I have a video somewhere. I'll see if I can find it and I'll link it in an iCard of blocking a garment. I'm almost positive I have one. So if I do have it, it'll be up here. So that's another thing that you want to do if you're blocking anything with superwash yarn. So anyway, we'll get back to this garment. So what I did here on the Garland is, this is all my yarn. This is an undyed polyurethane in the top one here, and then I did a gradient. So these are all separate colors of yarn. This is a light pink, a very light pink. It's probably not even really picking up on the camera. And then this is a darker pink. And actually it's not really even pink. It's every once in a while I will do a purple gradient. And so these were the lighter colors of that purple gradient, and they're not consistent colors I can never make them consistent, so I only put them out one batch at a time when I do make them, because it takes like 5 skeins of yarn. But these are the lighter ones, so it's a light pink and a darker pink. And Black Cat, this is actually a lighter version of Black Cat, so it looks more gray on the body. I always alternate colors, or alternate skeins of yarn, so that, because I hate pooling. I cannot stand pooling in my garments. So I'm always alternating. But this is a lighter version of Black Cat on the body. And yeah, I wear the heck out of this one every year. I've had this one for, when did I finish this? Last year? 21. I finished this in 21. Yep. Okay. Now, this sweater was the one that I had to do modifications on the neckline, because this is DK weight, so that stretch, I still did the same thing for the body on the stretch, you know, so I think this one's actually 17 inches, so I knit 16, and I got that 17 inches because it went down another inch. Now, on the neckline, I've noticed, because I finished this one in the summer of 2021, and you know, it was here, and then I've noticed, when did I notice this past spring, I'm pretty sure is when I fixed this. So I noticed that, you know, it was starting to go this way, and you know, starting to drag down. So there is a method that you can do. I don't know what it's called. I know that Suzanne Bryan and Roxanne Richardson both have videos on how to pick up the neckline from the inside of the collar, just to cinch it back in. So if I can find it for you, it's a crochet method for picking it up. It's not really going to show because I just use the same kind of yarn. You really want to try to use the same kind of yarn if you can, or same color yarn. But in here is a crochet method, and what I did was I picked up almost all the way around every other stitch, and that just brought the neck hole back up. So that's something that you can do. But that took me, if I finished it in summer of 21, that means I wore it for the fall of 2021, the spring of 2022, the fall of 2022, and then the spring of 2023 before I even had to fix that. So it's still taken 2 years, and I live in this sweater. You can ask the people I hang out with. I live in this sweater every fall, winter, spring. So that's a lot of wear before I even had to fix the neckline. But that's a method that you can use to fix the neckline. But other than that, the same method applies for compensating for the stretch on the arms and on the body. Yeah. So, did I even talk about what? No, I didn't even name this pattern. I got off into a tangent about compensating for stuff and didn't even tell you what this was. This is the Larson by Joan Forgione. And I don't say very often, but I actually don't enjoy knitting. I'm 1000% a product knitter. I just want the things. And so I will learn and do what I need to do to get the product that I want. That being said, this is probably the only sweater I've ever knit that I actually enjoyed knitting. I actually enjoyed the process of knitting. Which, you know, I guess that makes sense that I've worn this a lot because I enjoyed the process and the product. So again, this is the forest floor, and just like, so actually you can really see the difference here. So these are both the same colorway, but you see how different they are, right? This is when I was still trying to figure out a consistent colorway for this, for forest floor. So this is all that yarn, because I did it twice. So I had my one of a kind, and then I had the first time I tried figuring out how to make the color consistent, and then I did it a third time, and then by the fourth time I got it. So I tried 3 times because I love that color so much. I tried 3 times to make sure I got the formula right to get it consistent. So again, this is me using up that yarn, so that way it doesn't go to waste. Because I wasn't going to over dye it, I was just going to use it. So, is it the best way to represent my, you know, yarn in the shop? Probably not. But at least I'm being honest. Okay, and this red color is Mad Blood, which is showing up really light. Actually, all these colors are showing up pretty light. Maybe I could fix that in editing. But this is Mad Blood. Oh yeah, that's really light. Let's see. I don't know, that might be better. Okay, so, yeah, it's a little bit closer. Okay, so that's Mad Blood, and then this is Forest Floor. And I knit this on, it's either US 5 or US 6. You know, I've got a thing right here. It actually tells me the conversions. So, the US 5 is a 3.75, and a US 6 is a 4mm. It's just one of those needle gauges, and it's got millimeters on one side and the US on the other side. Okay, so that's that for that. Yeah, like I said, I knit the crap out of this. This is also Superwash Paulworth, and there is a pull on it. No. At least it's on the side seam. Told you I wear the crap out of this. I think I knit a hat in this too, in the Mad Blood color. And did I do anything else with that color? I don't know, I can't think off the top of my head. Okay, this one is Revival by ANKESTRiCK. And I live in this one too. And the way it's constructed, I don't need a thingy in the back because it's pretty obvious where the front is and where the back is. So, this is a good one to play around with because you can knit it solid. You could put stripes like I did. You could do all kinds of stuff with it. The construction, if I remember correctly, was different. It starts here and then goes around like this until it meets up in the front, and then you do the rest of the body, which was interesting. I don't think my shoulders like that construction because it took a while. This is where the Superwash stretch actually was in my benefit, big time. So, again, you know, same thing, the same modifications I do with the body, same modifications I do with the back where I'm taking it in some stitches. And I actually have a picture on my Ravelry when I first tried this on for my photos where I had like this hump, like right here on the shoulder, from that construction method. But over time, you know, compensating for that stretch, the shoulder part actually flattens itself out and the neckline is still great. I think I finished this one might have been 2021. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. So yeah, I live in this one too. Every fall, every winter. This is actually a high twist. I don't normally knit sweaters in high twist. I usually save those for shawls, but this is actually a really comfortable sweater, so I might just do more in high twist. But this blue is Delta Blue, and I think I do have a darker version of this in the shop. It's basically the same blue. It's a dark blue. And then this light color was a one of a kind that I did early on when I first started dyeing yarn. And so it's just, it's like a light blue with some splotches of green and some blue. And it's like a little blip of purple in there that's not showing up on the screen. So I just played around with it and did some stripes. But yeah, this was on a US 5. Anything else to say about it? No, it's just super comfortable. Like I live in this every single year. It's great. And it's worn really well. As far as pilling, I know I've hit the gleaner on it at least a couple times, but again, I've worn the crap out of this for 3 years, so that's going to happen. There's a little bit of pilling on the underarm, because, you know, again, you're always going like this when you walk, you know, so you're going to have pilling in those areas. As far as where anywhere else on the sweater, cat hair, it's pretty minimal. Can't really see anything, but just a little bit of pilling. Not a lot. But again, like I said, I wear this all the time. It's a great pattern. Okay, oversized. This one I did not do any modifications because it was actually pieced together. This is the first time I ever knit anything that was pieced together, and I haven't knit anything since, but I wanted it for the experience. Got the pattern on sale. I thought it was cute. And normally, as a rule, when you're knitting cables, you want something that's solid or tonal so you can see the cables. But the pattern, this is Breath of Autumn by Sheryl Cox of Essence of Autumn. She's a yarn dyer. And her product photo for this pattern had a variegated speckly kind of yarn with cables, and I'm like, you know what, why not break the rules? That pattern looks great on her. I'm gonna try the same thing. So that's basically what I did. So this is my hand dyed. I do not have this color anymore, but this was worsted weight merino, superwash merino, and so everything's pieced together. So you do the arm separate, you do the front panel, you do the back panel, and I'll show you the cables. I knit this on a US 8. So it's got like this, I don't even know what kind of cable this is, but then it's got like a braid in the middle, and then a braid down here, and then it goes back to this open part with the braid. And then you've got pearl bumps, and then this column here of just stockinette. And then that open part of cabling again. And then on the arm, it's that same open cable. And then it's just the same thing on the back. So this is very heavy. This is my heaviest sweater. When did I finish this one? I finished this one in 2020, I think. Maybe 2019, somewhere around there. Then on US 8, I did put my little marker handmade thing in there so I know which side is the front and the back. But yeah, this one I didn't do any modifications because it was pieced together and also cabled, and I really didn't want to try to put the mental space into trying to figure out how to modify that, so it's just an all-around oversized sweater. When I knit it to be more conforming to the body, but then this was before I lost 40 pounds, so now it's just perfectly oversized, which is almost always in style, so there you go. So as far as, I guess it doesn't really matter if I talk about the pilling on this one because I don't sell this yarn, so. But it's held up really well. You do, oh, the other thing that I thought was interesting about the construction of this pattern is that all of the piecing together, you 3-needle bind off, but the 3-needle bind off part is sticking out. So it kind of adds to the texture of the sweater. So you can see here, 3-needle bind off is sticking out, whereas normally when you do a 3-needle bind off, this is the part you see. It's all inside. It's just nice and smooth and stuff, but this sweater is sticking out. I actually really like that. It's different, and it adds to the texture of the sweater. Yeah, this is a big one. Okay, The next one is a quote-unquote rustic yarn. I wouldn't say it's rustic in the sense of super scratchy, but it's not superwash. It's merino, but it's I like to call it like a farm yarn. So like if you're getting something directly from a place where they make their own yarn, it's that kind of texture. I don't really know how else to explain that. But this is the Harley by Jenny Williams. And I finished this one in 2020, I think, or 2019. This is one of my desert island yarns. So if I had to pick a desert island yarn, it would be Susie the Shepherdess and my polymer fingering. That's it, because I can't just pick one. But if this is a knit picks pattern, and you start at the neck with this cabling here. Where does it stop? Oh, and then you just sew it together, and then your raglan shaping's got this braid. And then there's a cabling going down the arms. And then there is a split hem. And yeah. And then there's no, the cuff is cabling and not ribbing. So I did do some modifications on this one. I added 1, 2, 3. So there's supposed to be 2 rows of cabling here, and I added a third one and then split it down the middle that way, in the middle of the second cabling for the split hem. I did that on both sides. And trying to remember, I think I added some rows for the hem. The only thing I'm not happy with this pattern is the cuff, because the way my arms are, like I said, I have to modify and make them bigger, but then I have to do rapid decreasing down the arm, which is fine, but then when you get to the cuff, it's like, well, how do you continue to decrease without breaking up the cable? So my cuff is wide, and I've never really figured out, I guess I haven't really spent the time trying to figure out how I want to make that smaller, or even if I want to bother making it smaller. So I just have it folded up. So I don't know. I might just leave it the way it is, because now I use it as a coat. I did use it as a sweater, which is why I chose this yarn. This is a worsted weight yarn, and when I knit it, I already made it not so conforming, but like a little bit looser. And so now it's like really loose. So it's nice, so I can wear a sweater underneath this one and stay really warm, because I don't wear a jacket in the winter. So this is essentially one of my jackets, is this pullover. So that's why I chose the yarn that I did. And I have to say, it's going to sound controversial, but it's only slightly warmer than a superwash. I don't know if that's because it's merino. I don't know. I knit this on a US 6, so it was already tight knit because it's worsted weight. It's only slightly warmer than a superwash, so I have to double layer it anyway. Actually, I've got another sweater I'm going to be talking about soon that is my jacket for December and January. Because you have to understand, here in Tennessee, we only have 3 months of winter. So the fact that I even have so many garments is kind of ridiculous, because I don't really have enough of a season to wear them to begin with. If I really want to stretch it, I could probably get like 4.5 months to wear these things, because I'm middle-aged, y'all. I'm hot flashing. That's just how it is. So, you know, maybe when I'm older, I'll appreciate having all these sweaters more, because then usually when you become senior or elderly, most of the time you tend to run, like, you get cold easier, so maybe I'll appreciate it then. I don't know if I make it that long. So where's I going with that? So yeah, it's a nice transitional from fall into winter, but, and maybe like on the warmer days during winter I'll wear this, but otherwise, yeah, this is my jacket. So, and then you just do an I-cord for the neck to cinch it in. Right. Okay, this next one, we're going back to my yarn, is the Ziggyzack by Asja, Janeczek, and I'm probably not saying that right, but it has, I knit this with merino cashmere nylon, Superwash, and I don't really know what you call this neck. It's like a really long, it's not really a turtleneck because it's not long enough to be a turtleneck, but I guess it's kind of like a turtleneck. So like you wear it, fold it over, and then it's got this interesting design, which was a little bit of a learning curve for me because I was trying to do it without a cable needle. And then you got like these little wraparound stitches at the cross points. So that was really cool. And it's only on one side because the back is plain, but it's all pearl. So, but again, same modifications where I cinch it in the back so I don't have all that extra fabric. The arms have that same pattern, except you're not connecting anything else, so it's just one little section, but on the arms, and then pearl on the rest. Comes down to here to a, what is this, 2x2 ribbing. And this is actually the first time I've ever knit pockets. Let me tell you something. Once you knit pockets, can you really ever go back? Can you? Because it's like you want pockets and everything, right? So I had fun with it. I wanted to do this dark blue. So this dark blue is Mystic Zeon, which I don't have anymore. But I didn't have enough. But I figured, you know, what I did was I just took this little bit that's going to be way deep in the pocket to finish that pocket off. And then I think this side is all Mystic Zeon. Yeah. And it's almost deep enough. I mean, you know, it's enough to put most of my hand in there. So I could put some small things in there if I want to, or just like, you know, put my hands and fists and just keep it in there just to, when I'm walking around. This yarn is super soft, but because it's super soft, it pills. So I don't know if I would, I probably sound like a really bad shop owner, but I don't know if I would really recommend doing MCN for a garment. I finished this last year in the fall. So, I mean, there's a little bit of pilling. Not too bad. I did wear it a lot, but you know, you can't really see too much of it, so not too bad. I mean, it's super baby soft, but I just don't know over the long run. I guess I'll report back in a year or so, but I don't know over the long run how it will hold up as far as pilling. It is warm. It's nice. I don't know about the neckline though for this pattern, only because like, let me fold it over again. Because like you got this and it shows, and I'm just like, and it's supposed to be like that, and I'm not in love with that part. So I just kind of live with it. And I don't know if there's really any other way to do that besides make the neck longer, which I'm not going to do. Oh, the other thing about this pattern, I think it was a provisional cast on between the neck and the body. I don't remember. I think so though. And I had to start this twice because I was a little confused about how to pick up the stitches, yeah, from the neckline to start the body, because it was weird. And I did it wrong and I had to rip it out and start over again. But once I got it, it was fine. But it just took a little bit of me really having to concentrate to figure that part out. Otherwise, it's a really great pattern, except for that little neckline part that I don't like. But the yarn is really soft. I love that it has pockets. And I want to incorporate pockets in everything. Because we can never have enough pockets, right? Right? I think I knit that one on a US 5. Let me think about that for a second. This is DK weight. If it wasn't the 5, then it was the 6. For sure. I'm pretty sure it was a 5. Okay, and the last sweater is the Seachange by Jennifer Steingass. And I knit this one. I don't know why I put... That is not the center of the back, like at all. It's like over here. And I don't know why I put it over there. As long as it's on the back, it doesn't matter, right? So I knit this with Let Lopi, and ooh, it's itchy. This is definitely my coat, so I always have something underneath this because I cannot wear this next to skin. It's not so itchy that it's like super uncomfortable, but it's itchy enough to be annoying, and I constantly go like this. So I always have a sweater underneath it. So this is my coat. I don't think I have any of that yarn anymore, but this is, I don't think they name their colors anyway. So this is just a pink, and this is a teal, and then I used that teal down here for a low contrast with that raspberry color, and then just a white, and then a bunch of gray. So even though this is Let Lopi and Let Lopi is not Superwash, I still did the same thing as far as modifications, because my modifications are always going to be the same no matter what I knit for a sweater. I just did not do the compensation for the body. So I want 18 inches on Let Lopi. I am knitting 18 inches because it's not going to stretch. So I think I am going to bring in this neckline though. It did not stretch out, but it's longer or bigger than what I would like. So I think this winter, in fact, I'm going to, when I put everything away, I'm going to leave this one out so I can bring in that neckline like what I was showing you on the Larson. Because yeah, it's a little, it's going to like here. And if it's going to be my coat, I kind of want to bring it in a little bit more. I purposely knit this oversized because my intention was to make this a coat, which is why I used that Let Lopi to begin with. So yeah, I always wear a sweater underneath, and then under my sweater I usually wear a tank top, like an undershirt. So those are my layers. I knit this on, this is worsted weight, so it's very likely I knit this on, it's kind of tight, so I knit this on a 6, I'm pretty sure. I don't think I would have knit this on an 8 because it would be too loose. But what else I want to say about this? Oh, this pattern is actually bottom up. I did not knit it that way. So I took a lot of time trying to figure out how to reverse this pattern so I could do it top down. Because I'm not gonna lie, I'm afraid of knitting arms and then attaching them and trying to figure out how to attach the arm to the yoke. So I was like, I'm not gonna do that. It's actually easier for me to try and figure out how to do this backwards than to try to figure out how I'm going to sew arms to a body and do it right. So that was a little bit of work. Not as hard as you might think it would be, but it was a little bit of work. So I mean, you know, it was easy to do the bottom all the way up. And then, you know, all the directions for here up, I just kind of, you know, I just did it. And then with the chart, I just flipped it. So usually, I guess with that chart, it would have been right side up. So I just did it upside down. Which may or may not be why the neckline is so big. I don't know. I didn't think about that. But that's what I did with this. And to show you, because I do wear this a lot too. I finished this sweater in 2021, I think. I don't know if you'll really be able to see it. It does pill. So just in case you don't think that rustic yarn pills, I mean, there's a pill here. It doesn't pill a lot, mind you. But like, and there's a pill here. There's some pills under here. I mean, but again, it's all under the arm, you know, where you're going to do most of your agitation. So, and honestly, if that's the only place I get pilling, then, you know, what do you expect? It's going to be constantly getting agitated, so of course it's going to pill there. So, yeah, I wear this all the time. I actually knit a hat with this too, with the leftover yarn. I still have some yarn left over from that. What else I want to say about this? It's pretty warm. I would say that I can wear this in cold weather, like 10 degrees Fahrenheit. I don't know if we can really handle anything colder. Anything colder than that, and it's just cold. Like, if you're in a situation where you're getting weather that's like, you know, colder than 10 degrees Fahrenheit, you gotta go a different method. And I don't know that method because I live in Tennessee. So, yeah, I can't help you there. I can just tell you what my environment's like. So, I think that's it. Yeah, that's all of my favorite sweaters that I live in every single year. I do not have any sweaters that I'm planning on knitting anytime soon. I'm working on a blanket, a hat, socks. Actually, I finished some socks. I do not have them out. I'll show them in the next podcast. And I'm thinking about making another tank top, but I don't have the yarn for that yet because I need it in cotton, and I don't really have any cotton up here that is what I want. So I gotta go shopping for that, so that's probably gonna be a while. It'll probably be a couple months before I make that thing. And yeah, so right now it's just socks and hats and a blanket. So I hope you enjoyed this list of my favorite sweaters, and maybe that gave you some ideas for your sweater knitting. So yeah, I guess I'll see you at the end of the month. I'm going to put up a couple of yarn dyeing videos. We'll see how that goes. And then I will have a regular podcast episode beginning of October. Yeah, I should have some finishes by then, hopefully. Because I didn't show the socks today, but I'll definitely show the socks next time. I hope that sometime this week you get plenty of knitting time and crochet time and making time and self-care time, and I'll talk to you next time. Thank you for watching. Bye.